Hey everyone, I'm Doug.
I'm Wit.
That was really exciting. She's thrilled to be here, folks.
I smiled.
Hey, we are the Stream Team, and this is the Stream Team show.
Dun, 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 dun. Cue music. If you guys want to come up with any jingles, that might be fun.
Yeah.
We don't really want to do one, nor would it be good, probably. So, 5 to 10
Yeah, I think
second
it'd
jingles.
be safe to say it'd be awful if I came up with one. So
Yeah. And I was gonna sing mine, but it's not good. So if you guys can come up with something, please send it. Preferably with the Stream Team name in it.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Cheesy. Cheesy is
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I'll put that at the bottom.
Yes, work her magic. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to set up a camera. So we'll go through some of the menus,
Right.
and talk about what some of these settings mean and why you want to change them, particularly in a live streaming environment, because we're not shooting photos here, folks, and if you don't get it right in the video, it's next to impossible to fix after the fact. And if you're live streaming, you don't ever get a chance to fix it.
Because
So-
it's live.
Yep. No do-overs in live. So,
That's why I don't do it. It stresses me out. So last time we went over the switcher, the HDMI cords to go to multiple cameras, and the basics. So if you guys want to see the basics on how to do that, go to episode 2.
we'll be covering some cameras that are especially made for live streaming in a later episode. We're trying to focus right now on the sort of things that people were more likely to be using. In this case, it's the EOS RP from Canon, and then the FDR AX53 camcorder from Sony. And try and talk in nice general terms so that anything we talk about actually will apply to other models as well. So,
I like general terms.
yes.
These are cameras, and this is called a switcher.
End of episode. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye.
We are in the what they call the shooting menu here on the Canon camera. And first one I want to look at here is the shooting mode. So if we go in here, and this is actually where you choose whether you're going to be using auto exposure, or if you go down one, that's your manual exposure. With a lot of these types of cameras, when you put it in manual mode, everything is manual. So you're choosing your shutter speed, you're choosing your aperture, you're choosing your ISO, you know, you're responsible for everything. Whereas on the flip side,
Your phone agrees.
yes, the phone is happy about that. So on the flip side, when you go into the automatic mode, it controls everything, and you don't control anything. So, which do you want to do?
Yeah. I would not do auto
Auto is generally bad.
because it's left up to the camera, and the camera usually doesn't know best.
Right. It's particularly when you have situations that you're changing. You know, you're panning the camera left and right, and part of your scene is dark, and the part of the scene is light. The camera doesn't know how to deal with that very well. If you can get away with manual, do it. Just do it.
Please just do manual.
Yeah.
Learn how to use your camera and just
Yeah.
do it all yourself.
It's really not that hard. There aren't that many settings, and there are plenty of tutorials on YouTube to learn how to do all this stuff.
We're going to focus on the live stream.
And we have no problem whatsoever with you watching other videos from other people about topics that we don't cover. But
I do.
okay.
Just kidding.
All right, so next one down here is movie record size. This is basically where you set the video format that you're shooting. If you're happen to be using the ATEM Mini switcher, this is less critical because it automatically converts whatever format your camera is sending. Aside from 4K, as we discovered last time, right?
Right. Doesn't do 4K.
Doesn't do 4K, but but in pretty much any other format. So if you set it to like HD 2997p here, and the camera is set for 5994p, it's going to convert it, and it'll just work. Not recommended to do that if you can avoid it. It's better to have your settings match. But if you forget, or if you got a piece of equipment that can't choose a setting that's compatible with your switcher, it's there to sort of rescue you in the, I would call it more of an emergency situation, because you really should try and make those settings match as best you can.
Do we normally shoot in 59?
No. So I guess we'll cover it now. So,
We never shoot in 59, so.
as a general rule, sports, action, anything that's got a lot of action in it, you probably want to shoot 60p.
Okay,
If
yeah.
you're shooting something that you want to make it look like a movie, you shoot the same 24 frames a second that you would when you're shooting movies. And then for pretty much everything else, I shoot 30. I think we shoot 30 more than anything else.
And the biggest difference is 24 looks more cinematic,
Mhm.
29 looks more
Looks more like television.
broadcasting.
Yeah. Yep. And then the 5994, that's what you expect to see if you're watching like a football game or something like that. That allows you to see more of the detail and the action that's going on.
And you can also do slow motion
Yeah.
or speed it up.
Yeah, if you're
If you're
editing
recording.
in post and you shot 5994, you can slow it down to 24 frames a second or whatever. So, and
Mhm.
live, not really an option.
Yeah.
Most of these switchers will handle all three of those. IS image stabilization could be useful if you're having to handhold.
If you're using a cord for this and you're doing handheld,
Mhm.
is that a good idea?
It's not a good idea. It's really not a good idea.
I was just
right?
thinking about that earlier. I was like, what if you need a handheld? Then you'd be attached to this cord the whole time.
Right. And you bump it wrong, your signal goes out.
And then, something
yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Your signal's gone.
If you do have to have a camera that's moving around, it's better to either invest in a professional camera that has an SDI signal, SDI connection which actually really locks,
Mhm.
or go with wireless. Exposure compensation. Okay, so if you do happen to be shooting auto everything, this setting would allow
Which
you.
is a no-no.
Yeah,
But
don't do
if
it.
you want
but
to
if
do
you do,
it, I guess that's your call.
this is where you can adjust the overall exposure of your image. To if it's too dark, you can dial this up, and the camera will expose more. Or if it's too bright, you can dial it back. I'm sure other people do this. I do it all the time. You forget that you've set that, and then you go to use the camera the next time, and your exposure is way off. It's there if you need it. Don't use it.
Just don't use it.
Just do manual. ISO speed settings. This is where you can control how the camera handles ISO, or it's how much additional boost the camera gives to the exposure after
Yeah.
it's been brought in. So the downside to increasing the ISO is it's noisier.
Yeah.
It's not as clean.
Noisier means there's more grain in the picture, so it's not as crisp, it's not as clean looking. If you play with it and it's really dark and you change the ISO up to 3200, it
Higher,
just
yeah,
looks
yeah.
more like a dirty film
Yeah.
type thing, and it's
Which-
really ugly.
So the settings here allow you to customize how the camera will automatically adjust. But again,
Don't do auto
yeah, exactly. Don't use auto.
because we're professionals.
That's right. It's not that hard. Really not that hard to learn manual. So.
Yeah.
Okay, white balance. So, what's white balance?
White balance is the balance of your picture with the color temperature. I don't know how to say that scientifically. 5600 is daylight.
Mhm.
3200 is tungsten.
Mhm. So it's basically adjusting the camera for the color of light that's in the room. Our eyes are totally used to it adjusting and compensating, so we don't necessarily see it. But the way cameras see things is very different than we see them. So
Yeah.
if you have a camera that's set for tungsten or incandescent lights, like the
Mhm.
lights you have in your house, and you take it outside, everything looks really, really, really blue.
Right. Yeah.
Because sunlight is a lot more blue than our indoor lights.
Because of the color temperature. So.
Yeah. And the color temperature varies. So that's
Mhm.
why we have the setting here. We have auto. AW is auto white balance. What do we say about auto?
No.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
You got daylight, which would be if you're shooting outside in the sun, and next one is shade. So if you're happen to be shooting in the shade, outdoors, and cloudy for overcast days, there's your tungsten light. So that's
Which
your
says right here,
Yep.
32.
yeah, 3200 Kelvin. Okay, so and then white fluorescent lights. Fluorescent light is yet a different temperature. So and then we've got flash, which you wouldn't be using for video. I mean, no one's going to be shooting a flash off 30 times a second. So
If they do, what's wrong with you?
yeah, custom. So this is where you take a picture of something white, and then
Mhm.
you come in here and choose this, and then tell it, I just shot a picture of something white, and then the camera automatically adjusts so that it looks white.
Which is what I would do back in the day with my old Canon. I'd just go in a room, take a piece of white paper or whatever's white in the room, take a picture of it with out of focus of just white, filling up the whole lens, and then pressing OK, and it does it for you.
Right. So it effectively is manual. It's just helping you. It's assisting with the process. So it makes it a little easier. And then the last one is where you actually dial in the Kelvin number, the actual color temperature. Again, technical, but like Whit said, 3200 for incandescent, 5600 for daylight. So
That's all you really need to remember.
yeah, those are the big ones.
Yeah.
Different places have different things. So like there's an event that we sometimes shoot with MMA. We have to set the white balance there to 4600 because it's not daylight, it's not incandescent.
It's kind of in between.
So sometimes you just have to play with it. Bottom line is, all of your cameras need to have the same setting so that you're switching from camera A to camera B. It doesn't go from the correct colors to ultra blue. It is the sort of thing that people, even untrained people, will notice.
Mm-hmm.
It happens more than you think,
Like,
especially for amateurs.
what is
you know.
this? 4800? Amateurs.
Okay, custom white balance is where you actually choose an image that you've shot that was
Oh,
white
okay.
to tell it, like, this is white. So
And you need to take the image in the area you're going to be shooting with the right lighting.
under the lighting you're going to be shooting.
So you
under.
don't
Yeah,
take
yeah,
a picture of something white at home and then go to the venue and wonder why the white balance is off.
Yeah, and under the lighting that they're going to be using
Under
for
the same lighting.
that they're going to be using
That's
for the real
biggest
production.
difference.
So
yeah.
I mean, like a lot of times when we're setting up, they haven't turned on the stage lights or
Mhm.
whatever. So you have to talk to the lighting guy. Hey, could you please turn on the lights so we can set our white balance? And they'll understand. Let's see, white balance correction. That just allows you to tweak it. So if you have a white balance that's technically right, but you want it to warm up a little bit, you can just sort of adjust it.
So if you're going to do that in this camera, you need to figure out how to do it in the other camera and make sure when you're adjusting, that might be kind of a pain. So it's not going to be the same in each
'cause
camera if they're not
This
the
sort
same
of camera doesn't have this setting, but a consumer camcorder like this, there's no such setting like that.
But
so.
for the most part, professional cameras, I mean, like on a professional live stream, all the cameras are the same,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, speaking of which, if you can, try and use the same cameras for everything.
Yeah.
Because Canon has one idea of what colors are good. Sony has a different idea of what
Mhm.
colors are good.
And during live, you can't fix it later.
That's right.
So that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and trying to fix it is a huge pain, even if you can. So.
Yeah, that's true.
So AF method. So okay, autofocus. Autofocus, you're either gonna love it or you're gonna hate it.
Yeah.
Where do you fall?
It kind of depends on the event, but I usually do autofocus
Mhm.
with the peaking on to see.
There's another thing we can talk about later.
Yeah.
What peaking is.
Peaking is it's letting you know what's in focus, and usually there's some type of color that goes around the object that you're trying to focus on. Probably
This
won't
great-
find that on these, so
on this
that's
great
another
camera.
thing. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a tool to help you focus.
Mhm.
So personally, depends on the camera for me. It's like some
Yeah,
cameras
that's true.
do autofocus really well, others don't.
Mhm.
The more skilled operators probably can handle manual focus and be all right. But even then, we have situations with camera operators who've been doing it for decades, and we still do auto. Just be aware that if you use auto, that it's gonna go off sometimes.
Yeah.
So
If they're not moving around enough, like a lot, then I would just
Yeah.
use manual.
Yep.
But
if your camera is static and your subject is static, definitely go manual.
mhm.
That'd be my recommendation.
That's
So,
probably the professional answer.
yeah, yeah. But make sure you've also got a nice high resolution screen to check focus too, because like the screens
Right.
that are on the back of these cameras, you're not seeing all the detail. Now, in the last video, one of the problems we ran into was camera kept shutting off.
Right.
So, show you where to fix that. There it is. Okay. Yeah, so let's go in there. This one will kill you if you don't have it set right.
Yeah, because it will just shut off
Camera will just shut off.
automatically.
Find the power setting on your camera to basically turn off the power savings if you possibly can. I think that's kind of it for the menus there. This one actually has a touchscreen. So,
Ooh, fancy.
yeah.
Does this one not have a touchscreen?
It does, but the menu's a little bit harder to navigate when you can't see anything on the screen. So,
No, it's not.
for purposes
I could do it.
for purposes of this video, we wanted to show the menu up on the monitor here. Hi. Okay, so
Wow, this is so
not what you're used to.
fancy.
So yeah, I can just touch like shooting mode there. Okay, in this case, which one makes sense?
Movie.
Very good. Okay, and then we can go back in the menu again, camera and mic. So these are the ones that are going to be most relevant. What do we see there? First
White
option. So this one has
There's
auto.
auto,
And
which is a no.
yeah,
outdoor,
Mm-hmm.
indoor,
Mm-hmm.
one push.
So that's where you focus in on something white, and then press this little button there. So yeah, it's kind of like, what? I don't see anything white.
Oh. It's like that's not white.
Yeah. So we're shooting under daylight colored lights here. So just one other thing worth noting: computer displays, televisions, they're closer to daylight than they are incandescent. So so if you're gonna if there's a projector screen or a monitor of some kind that's gonna be in the shot, and you can adjust your lighting color, go for your daylight settings.
Yeah. I like the little sound.
It's very happy. There we go. Manual exposure. Yeah. Remember what we say about auto? Don't use it.
Mm-hmm.
It's evil. In this case, all you have is a plus and minus, but you are able to control.
There's not even any
It's very
numbers.
Yeah, it's very arbitrary. Okay, so you can okay, there you go.
Iris.
There's your manual focus option, and iris as well. So yeah,
So how does the manual focus work?
it's horrible.
I don't understand.
You touch the little buttons to focus closer or farther away.
Okay.
It's awful.
Don't understand. Don't understand. Okay.
Okay, so
Auto,
iris.
auto.
I don't think we've really explained this, but that's basically the opening inside the lens that determines how much light comes through.
Mm-hmm.
Shutter speed. It's how long each frame of the video is exposed. Yeah.
So
and-
this is why you want the same camera,
right.
especially if these are the settings for this one, because you can't really specify a number
Yeah.
even.
Yeah,
color
and the way
temperature.
this one's set up is totally different than this other one. So
Right.
like trying to get the same look out of the two cameras is going to be kind of a losing battle. Auto gain control, that's like the, well, that's basically saying how much it will automatically adjust the exposure. White balance shift, that's kind of like that other one we saw on this camera where you could like tweak the white balance
Oh,
a little
okay.
bit. But it's going to be, again,
It's
do
gonna
it
be
totally
different,
different.
yeah.
Totally different. Steady shot. Okay, that's actually an interesting discussion. So if you're hand holding a camera, this one's actually amazing at it, by the way. If you look at the front of it, the whole lens mechanism actually moves inside the body. So turn around and take a peek in there. If you
Oh,
move it
cool.
around, the lens actually physically moves. So,
So it's kind of
yeah.
like already has a.
Yeah, it has a really
stabilizer in
advanced
there.
stabilizer in it. And so
Mhm.
if you're doing any sort of handheld work, you'd probably want those kinds of features turned on.
Right.
But once you put it on a tripod, turn it off.
Oh, okay.
Because it fights you every move you make. Like you go to do a pan,
Mm-hmm.
it thinks, oh, the camera's shaking, I need to go the other direction. If you're on a tripod, turn all of those things off.
Steady shot.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you'll get a much better look.
What about smile sensitivity?
The camera detects when you're smiling. So,
For what reason? I don't know.
yeah. Oh, there's peeking. We can cover that.
Thinking.
So if you were looking at her screen, you would see that the
How do
portions
we-
that are in focus.
I don't know how to make it so you
You'd
guys
have to
can
you'd have
see.
to like
We'll see if that works. But
So-
anyways, whatever's in focus,
and highlights in the color.
it highlights it with the color in
Yeah.
an outline.
Get your white balance right. Use manual exposure.
No auto.
Avoid auto stuff whenever you possibly can.
It's not allowed.
She's already familiar with cameras,
Yeah, sorry.
so she's not asking as many questions as she might.
What's this?
This is a Zoom ring. Next time is a Q&A.
Q&A. So we'll do like a live stream
Mhm.
possibly
Mhm.
/ Q&A so you guys can send in your questions. I think it's helpful to have you guys more involved so you can understand what we're doing and make sure that you get your questions answered in case we didn't think of
Right.
anything
Yeah,
to
I mean, if
say.
you were sitting here, what would you ask us?
And you'll get us in real time
That's
too.
right.
So it'll be a live
Yeah.
live stream on live streaming.
Yes, so we will take questions live, but it would also be helpful if we have some questions submitted ahead of time too. Yeah, use the
Yeah.
comment section, use my contact form on my website, either one.
Send us a jingle.
Yes, we're still working on the jingle.
And you know, if we find one by the time we do the Q&A, maybe we'll reveal it. That'll be a fun treat. Please subscribe, share, like this if you can, and spread the word. See ya.
Bye.